Okay, welcome. Today we're going to be using Blender 3D 2.80, looking at the grease pencil. And this is completely for newbies, for beginners, people who have no clue about Blender. So this is kind of the startup screen, and I've assumed you've turned it on before and that you've selected left click for select. The old standard was right click, but now we've switched to left click. So now we go to File, New, and 2D Animation. So this gives us our white drawing board that's seen from the perspective of the camera. You can see here I'm drawing with a mouse, not too wonderful. I'm going to switch over to my Wacom pen, and then now I have pressure sensitivity. I can draw darker and darker and darker and darker, and then really dark lines. Draw very freely. If you press Shift, you get what do they call this thing? An anti-wiggle thing, a stabilizer. And if we use Control, then we have an eraser. We can erase our lines. You can also lighten the lines. Doesn't have to fully erase them. If we pick Alt, it makes straight lines, but only 90 degrees. So the next thing to know is that we have different colors over here. Here's red, pretty obvious red. Also note that this red has clear in the middle, the black has clear in the middle, and down here it shows alpha. This one, it's solid, and it's solid gray, so both the line and the middle, the fill, is gray. And as I said, this is a vector program, not a raster program. It's not like Krita, well, at least Krita when you're doing raster graphics, not vector graphics. The next tool is fill. If I fill with a gray, it does as you expect. If I pick this one, it's only going to make a line around the outside. You can kind of keep filling it, keep getting lines, get smaller. The next tool is the eraser. It erases just like you would expect an eraser to do. The next tool, I think it says none on there. I can't quite read their icon. But it does something interesting. It erases, you do a select, and it erases to the intersection. So like you can see this line here is intersecting this line. So if I just make a little teeny select on this, it gets rid of that. I don't like this line sticking out, I just get rid of it. I don't like this line in the middle, get rid of it. It's a really, really handy little tool. The next tool is the line tool. It makes two endpoints. You can move the endpoints. When you've figured out what you, like where you want them, you're sure about it. I just moved the camera. I was playing around with my pen and move the camera. You can see this is actually a 3D object, but don't worry about it. When you're doing 2D, just think of it as 2D. To get back, press the number key 0 on the numpad, and it puts you back into camera perspective. So anyway, back to the line. When you make a line, I was trying to figure out how, with a mouse I can just use a different click, but with a pen, I haven't figured out how to do anything but press Enter, which makes the line permanent. And then this is the arch. Again, it has two endpoints. It also has this blue point, which allows you to vary your arch. And again, Enter makes it permanent. This is very similar, only it has two dots. So we can make like an S-curve with these two dots. Again, endpoint select. Click over to red here. Box also has 2 points. You can't move that middle point. You can't move the box, but you can move the endpoints. As far as Blender is concerned, what we're doing right now is one object. It's like editing a mesh in edit mode. So these aren't separate objects. They're all one object, just separate lines, separate points within the object. When you've done with your box, again, Enter. Circle, very similar, has again 2 points to change it. So that's it for these tools. Another thing for beginners is handy is you can click here, slide this over, and it gives you the names of all the tools. After a while you won't need that anymore, but it's nice to know that it's there. I'm just going to do a new 2D animation screen here. And we'll start by just drawing a little line in the middle so you can see what we're doing. Now I'm going to turn on the guides. I'm going to start with a circle guide. You can see when I turn on the circle guide, it gives us this little red dot. I've noticed a bug where sometimes that red dot doesn't show up. But anyway, so now we can make circles around the red dot. If you'd like to move the red dot, you click on this cursor, click somewhere, and go back to your pen. And now you have your circles in your new place. And of course, we can have lots of fun with this. We can just erase some of these inside lines and get some cool looking stuff. Not like that line, it's ugly. Okay, get rid of all of it. Come on, if I can get it in my circle. Oh, it doesn't want to go away. Get rid of that one, get rid of that one. I know from past experience, if they won't go away, you can use the eraser and they'll go away. What if that has anything to do with circle mode being turned on? So, going back to our pen, to the guides, the next guide is radial. I'm going to move my circle point to the middle here, back to my pen, and now I can make some nice lines that go through the middle. So the next guide is parallel, and it makes parallel lines. And it has some settings down here, the angle. If I change this angle to 45, then I'll get lines running at a 45-degree angle. And grid does what you'd expect. It just allows you to draw a grid of lines. I guess it's good for tic-tac-toe or something. Okay, so the next thing that I was asked was, how do you render it? You've drawn this nice picture, you want to save it. You click on Render, Render Image. And now Blender renders it. This is your image that it's made. To save it, we click on Image, we go to Save As, and then name it here as a PNG, and you save it. If you want to change, escape to get out of the render image mode here. If you want to change the resolution of the way it saves, right now I've got 1920 by 1080, which is HD settings. This right here tells how many frames to save if you're making a movie. Down here it tells what sort of file format. PNG, JPEG, JPEG 2000, lots of choices here. These ones are for movies or an animation. So, and this is where it gets saved to. Normally, I just pick JPEG. Get rid of this, you can see it a little better. But JPEG has a nice compression. Hide that first. Oh, huh. Well, that's interesting. Bunch of different possibilities. I'm not going to go into all the details of all this stuff today. It's too much. So that's how you render an image. If you want to render an animation, you click down here, Render Animation, and it'll play to that endpoint that you set here. So the next thing we can look at is if you go into Edit Mode, and I select these points, I can then press Control-C for copy. And so they've been copied into a buffer. If I then go to the next mode I'm going to talk about, sculpt mode, and I'm going to pull this open so you can read what they do. Clone brush takes what I just copied into the buffer, and where you touch the pen, it makes a copy of them. So if you want to do a bunch of stuff all over the place really fast, maybe this was grass I drew or something, that does that. Pinch brings lines together. Oh, I've got to get I'm in sculpt mode. Why is pinch not working? F makes the thing bigger. There it goes. You can see it pinches into the center. Control does the opposite. Thought it might. Never tried it before. So if you use Control instead of pinching, Control unpinches. I guess you can call it magnify. Twist works better with a big brush. and just twist your stuff around. Control twists the other direction. Push allows you to just push the lines. Control doesn't seem to do anything here. Grab is like push, except for it doesn't let go. And you have to grab the line, but it doesn't let go. You just keep going and going and going as far as you want, wherever you want, until you lift up your pen. Randomize makes the lines random. I thought it was kind of, I'm going to do some undos here. Get quite a mess on the screen. Control Z is undo. Sometimes Blender was crashing with undos. Seems to be better now. Okay, now that I've also, in the preferences, it's good to set your undos up to 256. They start at like 10 or something like that. So anyway, make this bigger, and then we can make our really cool looking circle thingies. Strength allows you to adjust the strength. You can see it made the line darker. I hope you can see anyway. Probably, yeah, that's what I thought. Control does the opposite, lightens the line. Back to darkening the line. Thickness will make your lines thicker, of course. Get some nice big fat lines going on. And control, of course, makes them thin. Smooth does just what you'd expect. Smooths out our jiggles. I don't know, control. Yeah, control doesn't seem to do anything in these with these tools. So those are your sculpt tools. Won't worry about the rest of that. If we go back to, you can see I'm on the smooth tool and all your settings for it. This icon here gives you your tool information. These are other types of information that Blender has. And I wouldn't worry about them as a beginner. Just stick with what you've got here in your face because it's a lot to learn. Blender is an extremely complex program with a lot of possibilities. I'm going to do, again, a new 2D animation and show the last little trait. I've got my pen, it's black, so I'm going to draw a ball, and then I'm going to do right arrow. You can see down here, I put these points in. These are saving information. Now it's on frame 2. I'm going to draw another ball, and you can see it ghosts the old one. Move forward again, draw a ball, move forward again, draw a ball, and as you can see, I didn't move forward again. Control Z, move forward, draw the ball. There might be an easier way to do this. I really haven't done a lot of this 2D animation. I've only drawn like the ball a couple of times. So then you can, I'm using my mouse again, you can scrub through this, or you can come down here and play the animation. It's going to go to 256, so there's a whole bunch of nothing there. It's kind of silly of me. I'll just back this way up. So you can see it's doing our animation. And of course, you can render out your animation here. Render animation. You can get a whole heck of a lot more complex than my really badly drawn ball. I know that was a lot, really fast. If you have any questions, please let me know. And of course, this being Blender, these objects are really, as you can see, it's really a 3D object, even though we're using it as a 2D object, which means if I go here and plus click General Modeling, you can see that this is still here. Those are different types of views. You can like color it. For example, I can go to here, here, and then click Metcalf, which is the way a lot of people like to work with this red color in Metcalf. So then I can, wherever this 3D cursor is, and you can click this to move your 3D cursor. You can also use, I think it's Shift and right click. Yeah, Shift and right click moves the cursor. If I add an object, am I not in, oh, I'm in edit mode. I need to be in object mode. If I add an object, and this right here is the grease pencil object. If I add like a cube. I'm going to do top-down view, grab it, move it back, and then we go back to our full 2D canvas here. You can see that I now have this cube in the background, which can be interesting. You can then combine your 2D animation with 3D backgrounds and things like that. Have a lot of fun. So yeah, I think I covered everything that I need to cover. Thank you guys. Please pass the word, share. On YouTube, if you subscribe and then click right next to it, that little bell, you'll get notifications. And also support me on Patreon. That's super important. Haven't gotten any Patreon supporters yet, but I'd really like to have some. And even just $1 a video. And you can set a limit, you know, like $4 a month. That's great. I would be completely happy with that. If I just had, like, we've got 6,000 members on our Krita group in Facebook. If even 10% of you, $600 per video, I would be able to do this full time. I would love that, to be a full-time artist. So yeah, you can message me on Facebook. You can email me at magic.crow@gmail. Yeah, there are a lot of different ways to get a hold of me. Facebook is probably the easiest and the fastest right now. So that's it. Thank you and have a good day.